Do you have no friends? Does it suck? Well, you're in luck because today's episode, we're going to be talking about friendship in the age of distraction. How to have friends in the 21st century when there's a whole bunch of other stuff to keep you busy aside from having friends. This is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Randy? Yeah, this is, I think a lot of people do struggle with this because I hear crap about this all the time on like the radio and stuff. They're talking about like, loneliness and like, I mean, I remember during COVID, it was huge. And like,
Hmm.
you hear, I mean, I just anecdotally hear people talk about how hard it is to meet people nowadays because it is. I mean, everybody's got distractions everywhere and everybody
Yep.
else is like the other. And like,
Yep.
and I think it makes it very hard to approach people even. People don't want to be approached.
Yeah, the world's full of lonely people. Everyone too afraid to make the first move.
Basically. And what's funny is I think people want to interact. Or
Oh,
most people,
definitely.
like not everybody, most
Definitely.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Everyone's like more than happy to be spoken to be helpful, stuff like that. But there's a ton of distractions. And also, I mean, it's just hard because when you're younger, making friends is easy. You're surrounded by people your own age. You have to spend all day with them. You're
Yeah.
you're always changing classes, so you have tons of different people you can meet. And then you don't have to work. So like the rest of the time, you're meant to spend time with your friends. So it's like,
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking about that the other day. Like, you go through, it's kind of funny that we go through school, right? Like you said, you're surrounded by people your own age, people in your neighborhood and stuff when you're younger and all. So it's really easy to make friends. Then you go to college and it's like you have all this downtime and you're meeting all these new people. And it's like then you enter the real world and it's like such a stark contrast to that because you're now surrounded by people that are of varying age groups who have their own lives,
and
who have
that are
responsibilities.
competing with you.
Yeah, that's true, right? They're competing with you. They have their own lives. They have maybe families or whatever. Like, so it's like very hard to like from that point then, make friends. And because the way our country is, like if you did make friends in college and stuff, most of them probably are going to be in different areas geographically because, finding work and stuff, it's like very hard. So yeah, it makes
Hmm.
it very difficult.
Yeah. And then when there are the opportunities, people are just on their phone anyways. They're not looking up, they're not looking around, they're not seeing who else is there. Like it used to be, I mean, I used to go to like wait in the waiting room for a dentist or a doctor or something like that. And like the best case scenario, they had some magazines to distract you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you were just sitting there and you'd be like, well, hey, cold weather, huh?
No, you at least interacted with people though, right? Now
Mhm.
everywhere you go, it's like everybody's just staring at their phones. You don't have to talk to
Yeah,
anybody.
and you think that it's like that they must have something important there, or that they don't want to talk to somebody, or that, you know, all
Yeah.
those thoughts go through the head instead of just they're probably doing that because they're too shy and nervous and they're lonely and they really look for connection, but they're just too shy.
It is funny. Every time I've like struck up a conversation with somebody because I'm bored, like waiting in line, they are so happy to talk. And it's
Hmm.
like, it's funny when you realize that, like, if you just try, you realize most people are so, like, they want to talk, they just don't want to make the first move. And I think
Hmm.
but that's hard though, because then you have that barrier of getting over that nervousness, that fear of embarrassment, all that other stuff that's holding people back from interacting.
Hmm. Yeah, that's why I like that saying, the world's full of lonely people too afraid to make the first move.
Yeah, it's
Because
true.
yeah, I think so. I mean, it's always easier to have, but here's the thing, you can't wait for other people to make the first move because they're just not going to.
Well, no, and you know what's crazy? Like they've done, I remember because during COVID they started doing these studies on loneliness. And there's been a bunch done since, and like it's incredible how much like social interaction is necessary for us. Because if you think about it, we're social creatures, right? I mean, we're animals. We've always like historically have lived in communities, tribes, whatever. And like they were saying, like, loneliness, I forget they made this like weird equivalence of like it's like smoking 2 packs a day. Like basically in terms of like
Hmm.
health effects. And you're more likely to have like dementia and stuff because you don't have or things like that memory problems because you don't have that sort of mental engagement and stuff. You don't have that community. There's all these negative consequences from it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a pretty big
But
one.
here's the flip side. You only need one, two, or three good friends. That's
Yes.
it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people have this expectation where they're supposed to have this vibrant social life and they're supposed to be going, knowing all these different people. And like, yeah, that's one way you could go about it, having like the breadth of relationships, but really you're better off just having a few deep relationships and calling it a day because that'll suffice for everything.
It's like Aristotle says that, right? That like good friends, like you can't have a lot because to have a really good friend, it takes also a lot of like you have to know the person really well, right? Time commitments, all this stuff that like you really can't do that with 100 people or 1,000. There's just impossible. There's no way you can know their lives that well. The other side of
Hmm.
that too is oh, I just lost my train of thought. Damn.
Well, on
Um,
that thought, it's but the thing is they would never call them acquaintances on Facebook, you know?
no, yeah, that's the other thing. Oh, I know, I remembered. I remembered. You know what
Yeah.
it is? It's also too, I think we get these perceptions of what life's supposed to be like because we watch TV and stuff. And old sitcoms, I think probably new sitcoms too, they were always full of like all these like young people, like just out of college, like all living together or like living, like think of like Friends and stuff. Like they're living in these
Hmm.
incredible apartments in New York that there's no way they could afford. Like
Yep.
they're always spending their time together. They have this like support group. Like it's really a nice idea. But
Hmm.
like in reality, like that's not usually how it goes for most people.
Not
Like,
anymore. I was
no.
just watching Big the other day with Tom Hanks, and like, the movie he's just riding around on his bike with his best friend, and it's just like, yeah, that's what life used to be like before cell phones and
Yeah.
Netflix and people just sitting by themselves in their little studio apartments.
Well, that's the hard part, right? There's so much, it's so easy to just sit inside or sit by yourself and be entertained. So, like, I
Hmm.
think, but there's ways too to reach out to, like, playing games, like, online games with people. You can meet people
Or
that way,
finding
right?
clubs in your area that you're
Yeah,
interested in, or even ones that you're not interested in. Like I did this for a long time, is I just went to clubs and did stuff that I wasn't interested in just because it was a way to meet people. And yeah,
yeah.
you,
Dude, there's
you
a
end up
million.
running into a whole bunch of
That's the
them.
funny thing. I didn't even know that when I was looking at, this was a while ago, I was looking for groups on tech stuff to meet, and I forgot that, like, meetups still existed. And dude, there's tons of, like, clubs. Like, if you're interested in anything, they could be like,
Hmm.
there's clubs for, like, walking around in parks. It's, like, literally
And
everything you
even
could
if
think
there's
of.
not, you could start it and people would probably show up.
Yeah, yeah. There's a million ways. So what do you have to do to make friends then, you think? I
Mm.
know they're important.
Intentional effort. I think so. I can't remember exactly what it is, but in the book "Let Them" Theory by Mel Robbins, she talks about three things that make for adult friends. You need to spend time together. You need to be at the same place in your life, and then maybe it's like willing to put energy into it or something. I don't remember what the third thing is, but so you need to consider that stuff because friendships require time, they require effort, and they require you being at the same place. Like if someone just had a child and they're trying to take care of the child, they're not going to be there to hang out with you every weekend and do what you need to do if you're single. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like understanding that, and if you want to maintain friendships with them, you can, but just recognizing that you would probably have an easier time having a friendship with another single person.
No, it's funny you said that. Aristotle says, he says, friendships are best between people that are like in virtue. And
Mm-hmm.
I always thought he meant by that, like you need some core similarities, right? To have the starting point. And like you said, you also need to be sort of in a relatively similar place. Otherwise that friendship's not going to last or it's not going to work. So it's finding
Hmm.
people that are like you, that are in your same relative sort of like lifestyle and stuff. But there's tons of people like that. So it is possible. It just takes that effort too. You have to put the effort in to actually try and
Yeah.
be embarrassed and put yourself out there a little bit.
And you have to put the time in with people who aren't going to be friends. Like it's the same thing when you're dating. They say you have to kiss a whole bunch of frogs, but it's like the same thing with friends because you have to run into people and be like, well, this one's close, but no cigar and stuff like that.
Yeah, and give it a chance too. That's the other thing that's hard too, right? I
Uh-huh.
think too, a lot of people struggle talking to other people as well. Just like listening and asking questions is like the easiest way, I think, to have a conversation with anybody, you know?
Dude, okay, so there's someone that I know who he only ever talks about himself. And I know this about him, and I've just accepted it that that's just the way he is. Where like if the conversation's not about him, he's not interested and he'll just leave. And so, but it's like I think it's really funny. Like I laugh about it, but I'm just like I have to accept that in the relationship with this guy because it's just like that's just the way he is. But one day he was saying he doesn't have many friends, and I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, gee, I wonder why. Because if if they're not talking about
Not
you, you're
hard to
not
figure
interested in
out.
that.
Yeah. I always found that is funny. I think, but this was one of the other things those studies had found after COVID was that that lack of interaction had actually hindered people's ability to basically make small talk and
Hmm.
interact and like have conversations because it's one thing to get on like a work meeting or something that's or like a or Zoom for school or something that's not a regular conversation, right? You have
Yeah.
like a plan, a purpose, whatever, and so people like lost this ability, and it's kind of interesting that like it's something that should be natural for us.
Yeah. So when I was young, I read How to Win Friends and Influence People. And you know,
5 stars.
I I still yeah, right. I still think that's a good book for kind of generating some ideas for how to have friends because it taught it I mean one of the things is like become genuinely interested in other people. Remember other people's names. Like granted these are all kind of salesy tactics to make the person your friend so you could sell them some BS, but they do also work in real life. And so I think that they're useful. But another thing that you mentioned is like people have a hard time talking. And so there's this one thing that I once heard about called the Ford method. And it's called the Ford method because you just need to remember the letters FORD. So
Hmm.
you can just talk, if you talk to people about these four things, they're generally more likely to open up. So one is F, family, O, occupation, uh, R, recreation or hobbies, and D, dreams. So like
Oh,
what do they want to do with their life? So
there
if you
you go.
talk with those things about if you talk with people about those things, like once you've made the small talk and everything, if you want to get into a deeper relationship with a person, talk with them about their family, their work, their hobbies, and their dreams, because then they'll really open up and you'll get to see who is this person and what drives them.
Yeah, and is this going to be like a good person to have a relationship with, right? I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea. That's also why I think too, finding like clubs that you have interest in are a good starting point
Hmm.
too, because you know the other people there, you have something to talk about. Like
Hmm.
whatever that club is, like whether it's birding or like video games or whatever the hell it is, like that gives you something that you know these people are interested in that.
Oh
You can
yeah.
talk about it. Like it's
Yeah,
easy
that
that way.
he was talking about that in Super Better, how having common ground with someone makes you much more likely to have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and like you
Hmm.
said too, like learning those things about them, like their family, occupation, all that stuff, like that stuff you're gonna know about your friends and stuff that's good to know because it
Hmm.
gives you further talking points right down the road. And then, yeah, finding people like within your kind of relative space in life, I think is good. Just gotta make
So
the
then
effort, but it's hard. It's
well,
hard.
the other thing is, so the topic for today was how to have friends in the age of distraction, and it's actually to put down your damn phone
Yeah,
and stop using social media because we were so like there's this book by Cory Doctorow called Enshittification where he talks about how it's basically the business model of companies to provide you a really useful service, like think Facebook in the beginning provided a really useful service you can connect with people, and
yeah.
then they exploit the consumer which
To
they've
make it
done
worse and
because
worse.
now,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, because they're making money off of you, they're stealing all their data, they're selling your data, all these different things, and then they exploit the businesses that they work with, and then the app is just garbage. And we've gotten to that point with a lot of different apps because they're exploitative, they're addictive, they're net negative in terms of your life satisfaction,
Dude, all
and
they
yet
are is
people are
ads
hopelessly
too.
addicted to them.
All it
Yeah.
is ads like anymore. Like that's all they are. Like it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, so but they're socially acceptable addictions. So
Yeah.
like think about it. Right now, smoking cigarettes is a big faux pas. But for like 50 years, smoking cigarettes was the coolest thing. It was the most widely socially acceptable addiction
And people
ever.
did it everywhere
And
too, and it was totally accepted. Like I still
yep,
remember walking in the mall with my dad smoking when I was little, like
yeah,
and no big
yeah.
deal. Like everybody was. Yeah.
But the thing is, you need it's social media is an addiction exactly identical to that. It preys on the same chemicals in your brain. And so you need to go through withdrawal in order to separate from it because it is one of those things that's net negative in your life. And but it's something that you need to realize that.
That's a really good one though too, because you can't have a conversation unless you're present. And that's our
Mhm.
number one thing that takes us out of the place is these distractions that are so
Well,
easy.
they say even having a phone on the table
Yeah, yeah,
ma
it's a
makes
distraction.
the connection, yeah, makes the connection worse. So when you're with somebody, put your phone away.
Well, dude, it's like I was out with Anna, my partner, the other night. We went out to dinner, and we were like looking around for it because like we keep our phones like in our pockets and our jackets when we're out, so we can talk and like enjoy the time out that we have. And it's funny because you look at other couples and they're both like on their phone the whole time. And it's like, dude, like
Hmm.
you're not even there. Why are you even bothering doing this? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta get rid of those distractions. And like, you also have to be willing to like, you're gonna have to go out and do uncomfortable things sometimes in order
Be
to like do
uncomfortable.
this. Yeah. And
Hmm.
that's the other hard part is getting used to that.
Well, that's a really good point because right now, if you don't have friends or if you have difficult time making friends, it's because you're doing what's comfortable.
Yeah.
So in order to be something different, to do something or have something different, you're going to need to stop doing what's comfortable and by definition do what's uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think the best way to do that too is just start slow. If you
Hmm.
find it really hard, start really slow. Just be like, I'm gonna go out and just say hi to somebody, some stranger today. That's
Well,
it.
I've been doing that again recently too, because I kind of got to a point where I wasn't really connecting with people. And so I've been doing that again recently too. And it's really hard because like you're in the situation where you can say something to someone and you're like fighting in your head, no, I can't say that. That'll be weird. No, there's somebody else here
Yeah.
and all this different stuff going on. And then you just say it and they're like they just light up, you
Yeah.
know? And so but it's one of those things you have to get over that obstacle where you're fighting with yourself in your head and just do it. And then worst case scenario, you're probably going to survive.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing. It's like, what's the worst that can happen? They probably don't respond, or maybe they give you like a face or something and you move on. And I think the other thing too is like when you're in a situation too and you want to say something, think about to yourself, like, would you like it if somebody said hi to you or whatever in this situation? Probably yes, because you're looking to meet people, right? And so you
Hmm.
can kind of make the same assumption about other people, and that can help you kind of lighten that a little bit.
So it's funny. So what you just said there made me laugh because I used to do like this. My friend has this like he started this social dancing club because he likes to do like salsa and bachata and
Huh,
everything like that.
nice.
And so he kept pestering me to do it. And I was like, no, 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 no. But after a year, I just kind of gave up and I was like, okay,
He
fine.
broke you down.
Yeah. Yeah. So I went and I did it. And, I was just doing it. I was going to these things. And one time someone said that to me. They're like, you think anybody comes here because they're not like desperate to meet other people? And I was like, no, I thought people came here because they wanted to learn how to dance. But they're like, no, everybody does this because they're looking to meet other people. They're single, they're lonely, they're doing, and it was like an epiphany for me because I
Well,
was like,
that's
oh, this
actually a
is like a
good
dance
one
thing.
too,
It's
right?
like,
Because like dancing, you
hmm,
can't have your phone out. Right? You
nope.
have to pay attention. It's physical, but it's
Hmm.
also close. Save time to talk to the person. It's awkward for
Hmm.
everybody. That is a good one.
Hmm.
I heard they're recommended a lot. Like finding like clubs where you can learn how to dance. Like things are
Well,
recommended a
dude, I
lot
mean,
as good.
there's definitely a lot of people, and it's kind of, I mean, it's a bit more stressful for men than it is for women because the men have to lead, so you have to kind of know what you're doing, whereas women just be led,
Yeah.
and so it's a bit more difficult in that fashion. But if you can do it, it's worth it. It's fun. It's a good time, and
Also, if you're learning and you don't know how to do it, you're learning, You'll get
hmm,
better as you go.
yeah,
Who cares? Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah, it is hard though.
exactly.
It's funny.
But yeah, I mean, there's clubs, there's people that you run. Oh, the other thing is people that you run into all the time. Like the people you see on a regular basis. The mail person,
Yeah.
the person who works at the convenience store or the Starbucks or wherever you stop on a regular basis. Just say hi to them, spread a
That is
little
a good one. Like,
goodwill.
ask yourself, how many people do you talk to in your own neighborhood and stuff? Because I can tell, I know myself, like I know tons of people in my neighborhood because I'm out a lot. I'm outside, I take pictures, I walk my dog, do stuff in the yard, and every time I see people that I see regularly, I say hi. And like just that simple act can really help because if you can talk to your postman or to your neighbor and stuff, it's the same as talking to anybody else. And it makes it a lot easier to
Hmm.
kind of break that sort of those, I guess those mental barriers you built up, blocking you from doing that.
Hmm. And then the other thing about friends in this age of distraction is, one of the benefits of the age of distraction is the technology that we have.
Yeah.
So being open to having long distance friendships. And this is something where we haven't lived in the same area for
Since
years
college, high
now.
school, I guess.
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, since high school. But because of technology, we're able to maintain a friendship because we make it like we make an appointment every week to meet
Yeah.
and we get to catch up, we get to talk about whatever's going on for us, share that stuff. And so that's another thing is that like if you're saying, oh, they live on this side of the country, I live on this side of the country, and it's like, yeah, so what? You're in a different time zone. Like, get over it and just
Yeah.
find a time that works for both of you and just have the call that time every week.
And you know, it's funny that it's just as rewarding, you know, and it's like, it's nice because it gives you time to catch up. You're just chatting, and it's like you don't have the distractions because you're literally on the thing, you know, like you're not
Yeah.
the device you
Yeah,
use to distract
it is
yourself.
really funny because we have met up like we see each other every once in a while, and so we do meet up in person, but it literally is no difference than,
Yeah.
just chatting over.
The only difference is like if you were doing something, I guess. But other than that, yeah, it's like it's the
Hmm.
same because it's like, you know, that's mostly what people do is talk and hang out. So it's like
Hmm.
it's totally fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is kind of cool. That is the one
And
nice thing about technology. Yeah. I'm
For
sorry.
me recently, I've found that video gaming has been really helpful in this area because from, generalizations, men like to do stuff together while they're talking. And so like having video games that you can play with friends is a way to do stuff together while you're talking. So that's
Yeah.
both fun and it provides entertainment and it's a way to connect. So that's been a really good thing for me too.
Video games are great too, though, because even if you are like, if you don't know anyone, that's like one of the easiest ways to start to meet people. Because all you gotta
Mhm.
do is if you play games that are like online like that, and you meet somebody that you enjoy talking to for a thing, save their name, you know, their tag, and try to meet up again and play another game with them, you know, and then
Mhm.
get that conversation going. And I think that's another good way. Yeah. Yeah. But technology, it's funny because it is. It's like the easiest way to distract ourselves, but it also gives us all these means to stay connected. You know, you just have to use it appropriately. That's the problem. Or use
Mhm.
it in an advantageous
Exactly.
way.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah,
So I think
yeah,
that's where we should call it
yeah,
with this
that's
one.
good.
Uh, that is, yeah, that's how to have friends in the age of distraction. Uh, if you ever have any questions, philosophical or otherwise, you can just leave a comment or email us. We may even make a show out of it. But until next time, this is the Existential Stoic Podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Randy.